Hey folks, Jason Dukes here with Dirt Race Life. So I'm pretty sure that I have bent the rear end in this street stock. I want to show you 3 different ways that we can figure out whether or not we've got a bent rear end, from the least accurate to the most accurate. All right, let's get busy. Our first method, check for axle bind. So this is something that you can do like even at the track, like if you're in a rush and trying to figure out whether or not you've got a problem. So I'm going to pull this dust cap off. And you can see I've already unhooked a lot of stuff because we're going a lot further than this before it's over. But get this dust cap off here. If this axle is bound up, that is a clear sign that it's bent. But it doesn't give you a measurement. It just tells you if you have a problem. So I'm screwing a 3/8 24 stud in there. And that won't move. So that is a clear sign that I have a problem. Important point, you gotta make sure that you've got your tires off, or you've got to have your rear end like jacked up, because your axles can be, like in other words, the stagger in your tires will put twist in between the 2 axles, and so they'll appear to have bind, but it's actually just where the splines are like pulled against the center housing, and there's nothing wrong. But yeah. Okay, so that is definitely bound up right there, which means that this housing is likely bent between the end of the tube where the splines are at on the hub and the center section for the 9-inch Ford rear end. Each one is independent, so like if one side will slide, that doesn't mean that the other side's not bent, so I gotta do both of these. But yeah, that's bent. All right, let's get this side off right quick. See what's going on over here. So you see my bolt right here, I'm using that as a spacer off the end of that dust cap. I'm just gonna grab it like that. And that moves, see that went in and bumped that other axle, that's a good sign. So it's got some movement right there, okay? Oh yeah, all right, so what's that telling me? More than likely, that tube over there is bent, and this tube on this side is not, is what that just told me. Didn't tell me how much, just told me like I do have a problem and where the problem is at. Here's the second way we can tell if the rear end is bent. Now this method right here is quick, but it has a lot of issues. I'm going to go across with tape measure, and I'm going to go from rotor to rotor. So I can reach across there and I can hook that outside of that rotor, and I can come across to this rotor. And like right here, I am 54 5/16. And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to try to go opposite 180 degrees. And some of y'all may already know it's like this has got problems. You can't do this in every case. So I'm going to go across the back. And right here, I'm like 53 15/16. So I'm 3/8 of an inch across right here, bent with this rear end. All right, there is a big but on this one right here. I'm only measuring these 2 points right here. I can get across the nose of that rear end in the center with a tape measure, but I can't get across the top right there. And then the caliper normally is sitting right here, so if you're at the track trying to figure it out, you're probably either below the caliper or above the caliper trying to find 2 points opposite of each other. As long as you're somewhere in this zone, you're more than likely able to see if you've got a tube bent forward or backward. But they don't always bend that way, so just be aware. If a rear end tube was bent up or bent down, you're not going to see it just measuring across rotor to rotor like this. And if you have a hat on your hub here bent, well then that's going to throw your measurement as well. Here's a good rule of thumb that I follow using this method right here. I've got an axle that's dragging. It seems tight, sliding on the splines for no reason. I'm trying to figure out, do I have a problem? And I don't have time to pull the rear end out for this next method we're fixing to show. Well, in that case, I'm going to pull the tape measure, getting across front to back. Is that more than 1/8 of an inch? If it is, I'm going to say, yes, I've got a bent rear end and it's bent significantly. I have a problem. I shouldn't race the car. If it's less than 1/8 of an inch, I'm going to go race. Ideally, though, this third method, That's what we want to do if we suspect our rear end is bent, so let's do that. Y'all sit there and see if I can get this to go down without it falling over. Hey, thank you. Come out of there. Nice. I'm going to pull the third member out, and that'll make sense why here in just a second. Oh, get off my foot, you heavy joker. There we go. Get the third member out of it. Try not to have oil just pouring everywhere as I fool with this thing. Get it wiped out halfway decent. It'll probably still end up dripping everywhere. As crazy as it sounds, we're going to put the wheels and tires back on this rear end. It doesn't matter technically if this rim is bent or not because of how we're using it. So don't worry about having to have like a perfectly straight rim in order to do this. You're not turning the rim, so it doesn't matter. Roll you up there like that. All right, now you won't move. Do this other side. This is the third way to be able to tell if your rear end is bent. This is the most accurate way to do it. I'll take a tape measure. I'm going to hook it anywhere on a groove on the top of that tire. I'm going to hold it across. And all I got to do is just pick a point. I'm not even going to make a mark or anything, but I just pick an edge of a lug or something on this side, and then I'm just going to take and I'm going to turn my rear end over. Look at that. Let's see just how much it's bent. Oh, so I'm measuring 3/4 of an inch of travel. Folks, that's a lot. And I mean, you can just see it. To me, the first two methods are just kind of like guides to see whether or not you need to pull the rear end out and do this. If you suspect you've got a bent rear end, this is by far the way to do it. I want to give credit to Dave Hammond with Hammond Motorsports. He puts out a lot of shorts and clips on Facebook and YouTube and stuff showing tips and tricks, and he showed this a couple of years ago. Helped me tremendously. Thank you, Dave. I will put a link to Dave's website on this description. Y'all go check him out. He's got a lot of great videos. He makes a lot of great parts as well for street stocks, late models, modifieds, all of that. I'm not going to try to fix this. This is way too bent. And I think I'm going to call Dave, and he makes rear ends for metric street stocks. So I'm going to see if I can buy one from Hammond Motorsports. I will see y'all next time.